Right, happy Wednesday, everyone. Today I'm going to answer a question that I get asked a lot. People often ask me about side hustles, right? How they can find things to do on the side that generate supplemental income. And there's all sorts of ways that people can engage in side hustles or find side hustles. But one of the bigger side hustles that people often want to get into is that of like content creation. Now, I don't really like that term very much. It's very vague, but essentially what people want to do is they want to do something like this where they make videos, or maybe they do some sort of other creative endeavor that they really enjoy, right? So maybe someone makes planners or whatever it is, but someone wants to kind of take their hobby or something they really like to do, like a creative pursuit, and turn it into a side hustle. And today I want to talk to you about that. In my opinion, there are two key ingredients, two keys to having a successful side hustle. Now, I am not Gary Vee, right? But I am someone who has started a couple of side hustles that work, and they work well. Now, just one caveat here. When you see people making videos about this, you often see, like, I don't know, if you're on YouTube, right, and you Google side hustle, you're going to see people who have turned like a side hustle into like $1 million empire, right? And these are the outliers. But when you watch their videos, you sometimes feel like, maybe that's something I need to do, or, if I don't do that, then, why even try? But there are tons of people who have side hustles that are good and provide some supplement, right? So I think in that regard, that's kind of where I land, right? No side hustle is, able to support me full time. It's something I like to do, but I've also started side hustles that work a little bit, right? They provide some supplement. And so I just share that with you because, we don't need to start the next, YouTube channel that has 1 million subscribers, or the next Etsy store that has like 7 million sales. Anyone can really endeavor to do this. And so the side hustles we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about those two ingredients. And let's just dive right into that. The first key ingredient that you need to have a successful side hustle is to determine what value you are providing a potential consumer, okay? Now, this isn't just limited to side hustles, but this is what makes a side hustle effective. It's when you are able to identify how you can provide value to other people, okay? And so that is how you want to, that's the first question you want to ask, is how can, whatever it is that I want to create or make or do, how can this benefit other people? And so much so that they'd be willing to pay for it, right? And so that's what we have to figure out. Sometimes people just try to guess. Sometimes people just try to go off intuition. And sometimes people just try to do what they really like and hope that other people are willing to pay for it. But if we stick on this kind of thought of providing value for a second, I mean, this goes with anything. A side hustle could be something like doing Uber Eats. When I first started working here in the city as a social worker at my very first job, I was working full time, and one of the side hustles I engaged in was Postmates, right? And although this is not a difficult side hustle to start because Postmates was already a company, it was something I was able to do on the side, right? So what I ended up, and the reason why that side hustle works is because it's a service that provides value to people that they're willing to pay for, right? And if you don't know, Postmates, I think it's still around. They basically deliver things to people all over the city, right? When I was doing it, you could essentially buy anything and get it delivered to your apartment, hotel, wherever you were staying, right? And people found that the delivery service valuable, so much so they're willing to pay for it. So then I became someone who delivered things, right? I did this for a little while, and so that was a side hustle, right? Uber Eats is a side hustle. So there's side hustles like that, like companies that have already kind of found what's valuable, and then you work for that company, right? So that's one example of a side hustle. I think a lot of people, though, want to kind of not be within the constraints of a company. They want to kind of do their own thing. And so things like Uber Eats or Postmates, they don't really like that idea. And in that regard, then it's up to you to find out what's valuable. Now I'm saying that a lot. I'm really just trying to drive that home. And then the thing that we have to figure out, well, how do we answer that question? And this takes a little bit of time. It takes trial and error, right? And I guess using myself as an example, when I was first starting my private practice, right? I started to look for answers, like practical answers to things. So for example, how do you establish a PLLC? I'd Google that and I'd get tons of results that were kind of vague, or they would be like a little snippet of an answer and then someone would want me to like pay for something. It was really hard for me to find like accessible information about how to actually do things. And so I started to think, oh, this is an area where once I learn about it, I could probably create something that's of value to other people, right? And so then I started making YouTube videos with practical, actionable steps in regards to those questions. Now, a couple of my videos do decently. Other ones don't do so well. You can just take a look for yourself and you'll see some videos have more views than others. And typically the ones that have more views are the ones that are more valuable. And I say this because I don't always know exactly what's valuable to people, what they really want. But over time, I can get more consistent with that, right? And so in that regard, what I've been doing, what I'm trying to do, what I'm always trying to do with this YouTube channel is produce videos that are valuable to you, valuable to those who click on them. And I noticed that there was a lack of actionable videos, or there's some, but there weren't enough that were kind of helping me out at the moment, and there weren't enough detailed to my specific needs, right? And so I started to make that. And slowly but surely over time, this YouTube channel has become a resource that's valuable to people. YouTube here is free, right? So you can click any of these videos, it's free. But then this kind of becomes the gateway to other things like consultations that I do or whatever else it is. And we're going to talk about kind of that gateway in a second. But the point here is discovering the value. Now, if you want to do what I did, it's kind of making videos, seeing what works, who watches it. You also want to start perusing different online communities, in communities that are in relation to the thing you want to create, right? So let's say, for example, you want to create digital planners. You might want to join forums that are about organizing and productivity and that kind of thing, and start to get a sense of what do people want, what is missing, what are people, what do they need? What problem can you solve with your product, your idea, your video, whatever it is you're going to make? And that's another way of thinking about value, is what problem can you solve, right? So you can think about it that way as well. Asking people who are potential consumers, potential people you're trying to reach. I knew for myself, I was trying to reach therapists and people in private practice. If you are someone, I don't know, even if you're someone who wants to open a restaurant, you got to get a sense of the neighborhood where you want to open it. What kind of food do people want? Do people want something new? Do they want something from, I don't know. You have to answer that question. You don't just guess, right? So maybe you take a survey of the community. Now maybe you talk to other restaurant owners. Maybe you join online forums. Maybe you read Yelp reviews of all the other restaurants that are around. But you have to put in your work to find out what people need. What will they find valuable? And once you get a sense, you can then start doing the trial and error, right? So some people might get successful the very first time. But oftentimes, again, using myself as an example, put out a video, no one watches it. Clearly, people didn't find it valuable. That's okay. You try again, right? Oh, people really like that one, right? So I have a video called How to Start a Private Practice in 6 or 7 Steps. People like that one. It provides people a lot of value. I made another one about health insurance and no one watched it, right? It wasn't valuable to people. So then I make more kind of like how-to videos, right? So all that to be said, your first goal in creating a successful side hustle, especially one that is in regards to your own content, right? Things that you create, is going to be to find what is valuable. And now you're going to be asking that question continuously, right? But we got to kind of get a sense of that. Number 2 is going to be building credibility, okay? Now, what do I mean by building credibility? I mean that people have to trust that what you're offering is actually going to provide them value. Right? Now I'm going to use myself as an example, right? If I just went around telling people, hey, I'm a therapist in private practice, I can help you start your own practice, my consultation fee is XYZ, you should sign up with me, what would help them believe that I'm credible? Why? How am I not just some other person that, that's just guessing, right? So in some regard, you have to find out how you build credibility, right? Let's say you're someone who's, making planners, right? Like using that example. How do, you don't just say, hey, I have a planner that I want to sell you. I'm really good at making planners. You should buy it. In some regard, you have to build that credibility. Maybe it's through a free sample. Maybe it's through letting people take a look at it. Maybe it's making a video about it. We can do this creatively, but you have to let people in on what you do. Give them a way to experience it, see it for themselves, so that they can decide whether or not you're credible. This is how you, this is how, right? So you have this valuable product or service or, whatever it is you're making, and then you become credible. And then people are saying, oh yeah, like this person knows what they're talking about. I'm willing to, pay for that product, service, or creation, whatever it is. The way I've built credibility over time is through my YouTube videos. And in fact, I actually encourage people, before we ever have a consultation, I encourage them to watch as many YouTube videos as possible. This is because I want them to feel confident that when they work with me, I do know what I'm talking about. And I don't expect people just to believe me if I tell them. I want them to look at my videos, and if they think I'm credible and they kind of get a sense of, wow, like I've made these videos, I've done my research. In many ways, that's so that people can trust me, right? And I would want the same if I'm buying a car, right? I live in New York City, I don't have a car. If I was buying a car, I couldn't imagine being comfortable with someone telling me I couldn't test drive it. I just have to trust that it's good. You want to take it for a test drive, right? So that's my YouTube channel is kind of like that. I want people to see it for themselves, right? Again, if you are maybe creating a product, maybe it's giving, maybe you make a series of products and you give one away for free. But you have to figure out how you're going to build your credibility, right? And this is also why reviews are helpful, right? If you go on Amazon, most likely you're reading reviews, right? And then the more positive reviews the product has or whatever it is, it's more credible and people are more likely to buy it. So these two ingredients, what value are you providing? We can also look at it as what problem are you solving? And then number two is building credibility around that product or around that solution, whatever it is you're creating, is going to be the keys to creating a successful side hustle. If you can do that, if you can provide value to people and you can build credibility, you'll be able to have a successful side hustle. And again, we're using successful very loosely. Successful doesn't need to look like a full-time salary. Maybe it looks like an extra $20 a month. Maybe it looks like, extra $100 a month. It doesn't really matter. That's up to you to decide. But I think what we're talking about here is a side hustle that actually generates something. And those two ingredients are going to help you do that. Anyway, I was thinking a lot about that over the last couple of days. I've been getting asked about that kind of thing. I have a couple of other videos on this channel about side hustles and marketing and all that kind of stuff. I'm just a regular guy who's trial and error myself and have made some things work. And so I just wanted to teach that to you today. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Hopefully it kind of inspires you and motivates you and gives you some ideas. Anyway, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.